Hey guys, make a video on MLGO. I got absolutely taken for a ride on this one. I did short it in the pre-market. These are all book reads. These are all kind of, long trap at the top with some structure I like to see. A lot of good stuff, that a lot of these trades, actually, every single one of these initially worked. Um, it was only really out of the three losers, there's only this one I managed to take a partial on. But besides that, man, this is just one of those plays where you can apply patterns that work, especially on things that are pushing two, three, four times. That work a lot, midday and afternoon and all types of stuff. But this thing was just relentless. And I think a lot of people saw the chart from September. The down only kind of liquidation chart, and I think a lot of people got aggressive. I got aggressive, and I managed to avoid getting squeezed in the morning here. And then I saw, we'll go over the chart, but I saw some, higher lows, a tight little flag, looked like a nice little long trap. I saw a lot of weakness on the book and the tape and all types of stuff, like minimal bid support. And man, this thing just get the move you want, come back up. Get the move you want, come back up. Get the move you want, come. It's just like over and over and over. And this really shows that even waiting for levels and getting good entries. You never know what's going to happen after your entry, right? And there's times when you just lose right away too. So that also happens. So yeah, man, we'll just go over. Just look at let's look at the chart to begin with, man. So um, this pop. By the time I saw it, it was already under VWAP here. And I'm like, well, I guess um, I wasn't looking to short any backside clear out, mostly because the volume was like it was like zero volume, and I'm like, well, I'll just keep an eye on this. Very little volume in this play. I actually kind of remember on the September day, it also had very low volume in the pre-market, and then it did some crazy stuff later. But I saw them throwing bids, so I guess we'll just open up the book. I did see them throwing bids up here, so I was like, all right, well. I wasn't looking to long it, but I'm like, all right, they're kind of um, propping the stock with bids, with bids, with bids, bids. There's like constant bid follow up. I was like, all right. And then I saw it squeeze, right? I saw the first pre-market squeeze, and this was kind of one of those situations where there's kind of ask up here, there's bids down here. I don't really have a read on this. I'm always a little wary of strong market stuff happening, So, I see the same bids are thrown up, so it keeps pushing. And really, the first short I took, which ended up working, was so you had this big push and this pullback, and on this push here, I knew there was this 480 guy up here, 45 guy, and I saw them starting to pull the bids lower, and I'm like, okay, like maybe they just squeeze the first, early, the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. shorts, the 6 a.m. shorts, and now they're coming in here, and it seemed to work. They threw up some more bids, but then they started pulling. This was like a 20K bid, 8K bid. They actually pulled most of it, and then it just started, and then you can see it here. This is actually super weak, where they pull bids. You can see the bid getting pulled here, and most of this bid getting pulled here, and then they start stacking the ask, and they dump it into the lack of bids. I'm like, okay, cool. Uh, let me just take a little bit of profit. And then I was looking at market open. I was looking at the 1 minute 200, and I really wanted to take a good amount off at the 1 minute 200, because not only was I up about 15-20%, but this was down only. Again, the strong market stuff, we've been seeing how down only gets attacked, which is why when I got stopped out, I was holding the rest of my position until this area. Once this didn't immediately go, like, A, I thought this candle should have just straight faded. This is like a pop above VWAP, get longs to chase, and you dump it, right? Little 1 minute flag fake out action, right? And this is like a 10% dump right away. I'm like, all right, that should fade, break these higher lows, go down, and then once I saw this reclaim and push, I'm like, I'll just get out the rest um, of my position, and then that just kind of made me uh, bullish this price. I was looking at this price section. I'm like, oh, they're doing a bunch of these fake clear out soak, and I wasn't looking to long it, but I wasn't looking to short it. And then we get a big squeeze, and then we get into my first loss of the day, where it's usually a good idea to wait for structure, right? I usually like to wait more than unless something very extreme happens, like on something this rigged and this strong, like 10, 15 minutes, something like that, something where I can see what the book's looking like, what the structure's looking like, and I saw that it did this. I wasn't in on this candle. I actually thought this was like kind of a momentum play to my go. This failed, and then I started seeing kind of this higher low flag structure here. And then when this went, I was like, all right, if this is a short trap, this is going to squeeze. And when this didn't squeeze, I got in the high 540s on this candle. And I think if we go to the book on that candle, see that candle is 1101. I'll open the book really soon. I always zoom in on the book here. Here's 1101. There's a bidder here, right? It makes a push. I see this bidder pull, and I only see one little guy here, but I zoom in. I don't see a lot of bids follow up. I see, there is also a 150,000 share ask at 5.62, so I knew that guy was there because I actually saw him earlier. I was like, oh, there's a guy with a huge sell order. Now, sometimes, as we will find out later, sometimes a big ask at the top can be bullish because they'll just use a big ask to keep a price down below a certain level, and then they'll come back up and either pull the ask or take it out. Right? In this case, I actually took it out later, but I saw this push fail, right? And I knew that guy was up there, and I saw the lack of bid support. I'm like, all right, let me go into 540s. And then I start seeing new ask come in, new ask come in. I'm like, all right, this actually looks really weak, right? I'll just risk up into 560s. We even get a nice $5 swipe, and I saw this reclaim, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is just a quick little reclaim, and it'll roll back down. And then, man, this thing started grinding and grinding, and bids came in and grinding. And right here is where the 5.62 guy got taken out. So like his whole 150,000 share order got taken out. And once I saw that getting eaten through, zooming out, I knew that there's a bunch of lower highs, lower high, lower high. This was a lower high. This was also a nice little, flag trap, another one. So I thought this was very, here's another, here's another little higher low. I'm like, oh, they're holding $5. Maybe they'll like fake out, do the little retail fake out and then swipe $5 and it'll go down, which is why when this push failed, I was like, oh, this was a good long trap at the top. This was a really good long trap at the top. And then I saw the $5 crack. I'm like, oh, this trade's going to work really well. No reason to cover. This actually looks really bearish. And then, man, they rotated back up and they did this like the high tight flag into the squeeze. Only in a strong market does this happen, man. Only in a crazy strong market do you start getting high tight flags after morning, multiple short squeezes, multiple parabolics. I'm like, all right, let me see what happens, right? So, I never short these candles. I never short these candles. And again, I'm always looking for the structure. So the first thing I see is that it starts to go down only, right? You get about an hour of down only here, from here to here. That's about an hour. So I'm like, I always think on rig stocks, when something goes down only, there'll be some type of backside move. So I'm like, okay, what levels am I looking at? I like 6.2s, 6.3s, and then, 6.5 half dollar, right? And I'm looking at the book, and I'm noticing that's where on the book, that is where the asks are being stacked. Up here, you can see that here's a bunch of ask, all the way to 620, 630, 650s. And from just a backside structure perspective, I'm like, oh, 650 looks like a great little, like do down only for an hour, right? They do the same support swipe that they did over here. So I thought this was pattern replication. I'm like, oh, they're going to do the support swipe and the squeeze, the support swipe and the faking everybody out. That's really what I thought. I was like, oh, they're replicating the same pattern. That almost never works. It's a little too obvious. And then I didn't want to hit any of this, even though the volume difference was big. The difference is this move is only like a 2% move, and it started getting really, I like big, when I talk about high relative volume, I like it when the moves are really extreme. Like if this was like an 8-10% candle instead of like a 2% candle, it's really the extreme moves that I like. But this is just grind. To me, this is just like, a couple percent up here, 1% down here, 1%, 1%. It's very, very grindy. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's kind of this 38 level and the 650 half dollar level. I was like, those are kind of better levels to wait for. Um, so I saw this, and then I was like, I told my Discord, I was like, I'm really waiting for more volume and a bigger move to come in. And then, we start to get this aggressive, candle, like big volume candle at 6.5. And if I go to the book, you can actually see at 6.5 that it swiped 6.5. It came back down, and then they started first of all, there's very little buying above 6.5. So once 6.5 got broken, the buying immediately stopped. It comes back down. You hit the crack through the empty space, and I actually started shorting a little bit. I think on this bounce, and then I was like, oh, that's a nice backside clear out type move. And then it started working. And I was like, great, this is another trade that's working. You get your down only through $6. Of course, no matter what, that always creates a bunch of empty space on the book. And you never know on these strong ones, like, is this empty space going to get attacked? Is there going to be a new ass showing up here or here or here? Are these bids, how many bids are going to show up? Are they real? Like, how significant are these bids? I saw them, like, they actually pulled a bunch of bids right here, right? This came right down to these bids, and they pulled most of them, and it got, like, kind of a little bit emptier down here, and I'm like, oh, maybe they, maybe they they do a push up to the, to these 630s level, and they pull it and that type of thing. It's like, no, it's just as soon as 6.5 got got taken out, and then it rotated, I had to get out over here. Then I was like, all right, man. And again, I don't like to touch on the really strong ones. I don't like to really any stock. I don't like to, I like to wait like 10, 15 minutes for some type of price action. But at the same time, when something's getting this extended, I'll make, how's this going? Oh, it's like fading. Wouldn't be surprised if this gap down tomorrow. I'm not in this play, by the way. But on this push, I still like to wait like 10, 15 minutes for some structure, but I know, this thing has done so many short squeezes that maybe if something very extreme happens, I'll get in if I get a really, really good bookmap signal. And I made videos about this exact signal on this candle right here, right? We got your massive soak. A lot of retail long sees this big reclaim on a stock where these candles have been working. And then we get great book confirmation. We get great book confirmation back over here. Oh my god, where is it, dude? Where is it? It's in the 870s up here. Okay, here it is. You crack support, empty space. It gets market ordered. You can see all the buying. It gets market ordered, and then I just see. I already knew 9 was there, and I actually already knew 8.9. So it's like 8.9 and 9 are both there. And then this 8.88 guy came in, and I started shorting this, and I got high 8.7s, and you could see the new ass come in. You could see the empty book to the downside, and I'm like, oh man, this is so weak, and that'd be a great little top pattern, man. Um, and we got massive confirmation. I was like, man, I don't want to take any partials until like there's so much range on this stock. I was like, I'm gonna wait for like a big eight crack, and then I'll just cover into the crack, right? I'll just wait for 8 to crack because I thought if 8 cracked, this thing was getting so extended that right, you know, right here, this was so up only, and there's so much empty space. I was like, all right, like 8 will probably get cracked, and I just happened to cover in the 7.3s over here. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a pretty good cover. That's like I'm up like I don't know 15-20%. Let me just take like a quarter off. And I was telling my Discord room, I was like, eventually stocks run out of liquidity, and the more short squeezes that happen, the more likely bounces like this are going to be really weak, right? Which is true, but there is always, of course, there's always a chance for a stock to just, not just have 4 legs, but 5 legs, 6 legs, 7 legs. And it's very easy to get into that mentality of, well, this thing's had a fourth leg. Surely it's going to have a fifth, and a sixth and a seventh, right? Like you could just keep telling yourself that, the stock will never be weak, and a lot of that will affect your decision making when patterns show up. It'll affect your sizing. It'll affect your profit taking. I thought 15-20% was a good profit, but like you might start taking profits from like 8.7s to 8.1s, and you might start getting, you know, proactively covering way too much way too soon. And then when the actual fade comes in, and I mean, who knows? Maybe this gaps up tomorrow, goes crazy. But imagine this was the top, and it's faded into end of day. I've had trades in the past where I've covered 40, 50% right here. And in this case, it makes you look like a genius. Like, man, I treated this as like a 15% move, and I made I didn't get squeezed. You feel so smart, but then there's going to be trades in the future where this same, 1, 2, 3, 4 squeezes happens, and then a 50% fade happens, and you're going to be out half of your position here, right? You're going to be out half of your position with like a 7.8 average, and it's going to fade the sub $5 by end of day, right? So, um, I thought this was a good little long chase pattern at the top. I had a lot of book map confirmation, and then at this point, I thought this little push right here was gonna fail. I'm like retail's gonna see this bounce here, and I saw the higher lows. I saw the bounce. I'm like, they're just gonna push it. It's gonna hit like 8.3s, 8.4s, and they're just gonna slam it, and it's gonna roll over. Right? That's really what I thought. And then I mean, the chart tells the whole story. It just went straight up. So once I saw it go straight up, I was originally going to the book. I was originally risking, these 9 guys, 8.8, 8.9, $9. I was risking these guys, and once I saw this start getting slapped straight through, like 916, like 9 and 910 and 920, I just completely got out. I was like, this is really the exact opposite of what's supposed to happen. And because the bullish thesis was, again, they abused the same tricks, man. Like, give a bunch of very weak looking candles, quick pullback squeeze, right? All these like dumps where there's a lot of space, and then they just squeeze, right? Down only dump squeeze, down only dump squeeze. Like this is how you trap shorts, right? You just you know, uh, this is why I like structure like this, right? I like consolidation and higher lows at the top, right? Those can produce big, big cracks, right? Because a lot of longs are chasing tight consolidation with higher lows, at the top. And when it cracks, you could get big moves. A lot of times it's top, it's top. But in this case, you could get the move you want, but it just comes back up. Again, get the move I want. This is a nice backside clear out right here. Get the move I want, comes back up. And then really get the move I want. Luckily, you actually get a partial this time, still comes back up. And man, this thing was just relentless, man. Just one of those tickers where, as a trader, you're trying to, trade your patterns. I know as a short seller, the more extended something gets, the odds of the odds of a stock having, let's call this the first squeeze, right? First squeeze, second squeeze, right? Third, right? Fourth, fifth, and almost like a mini sixth one there. It's like usually doesn't happen. I mean, it only happens in strong markets, but even in strong markets, stocks can still sometimes only push, two, three times, right? Four times, and then you get six, seven times. Like, it happens. The thing is, that's the thing about probabilities is that eventually that thing happens. And I just trade the book map patterns. The backside clear out right here, and the crazy retail like reclaim into the sellers, like stuff like that, and or the long trap with the higher lows. Like, this one was just so frustrating just because of, you get the move, you'd be like, now I can sit back and relax and make all my money, and then you're just staring at this for all day, just all day. It's exhausting. They don't work. You get frustrated. Luckily, I've been in this long enough to not not get too mentally drained, but it's still frustrating. So yeah, so that was the trade. Hope that was informative, guys. Like, it just happens. By the way, if we open up the 15-minute chart, look at the 15-minute 9, man. The 15-minute was so clean on this thing. And I kept seeing this, like these. I mentioned midday consolidations on the 15-minute. Like, I saw the 15-minute 9 here, and I definitely saw it here. I was like, man, they're just soaking and soaking and soaking and soaking on the 15-minute 9. And yeah, just how it went. So hope that was informative. Do the best you can with the patterns you got. So, you guys have a good one. See ya.